Okay, so whatever you think you know about building AI, just forget it for a minute. Today, we're going to demystify how basically anyone, a single developer, can build a really powerful AI app right in the cloud. We're pulling back the curtain on Amazon Web Services to show you how to go from just an idea to a working app, not in months, but in minutes. Seriously, let's dive in.
I mean, that sounds like something out of science fiction, right? Building a working AI app in minutes. But the tools we have right now mean that something that used to take huge teams and just, massive infrastructure can now be prototyped by one person. The game hasn't just changed, it's been totally rewritten. Accessibility is the new default. So, here's our game plan. First up, we'll talk about the big picture, what we're calling the AI cloud revolution. Then we'll get introduced to the core tech here, which is AWS Bedrock. After that, we're going to walk through building a simple app from scratch, look at all the different AI brains you can use, and finally, we'll tie it all together to see why this is such a huge deal for businesses.
For the longest time, when people talked about the cloud, they were really just talking about a big digital storage locker, right? Or maybe a server room that was somewhere else. But honestly, that's such an old way of looking at it. We are in a totally new era now where the cloud isn't just about storing stuff or running servers, it's the actual engine for AI innovation.
And that's the fundamental shift right there. AI isn't just some feature you can, bolt onto your app anymore. It is the core engine. It's what's going to power the next wave of all applications. This completely changes what's possible, and it sets the stage perfectly for the kind of tool we're about to talk about, which, of course, is AWS Bedrock.
So what's really at the center of this new era, especially on a huge platform like AWS? Well, that's where AWS Bedrock comes in. Honestly, the easiest way to think about it is like your all-in-one toolkit for building anything with generative AI.
Okay, the two most important words you need to know here are fully managed. And what that really means is that Amazon does all the heavy lifting, all the incredibly complex, mind-bending work of actually running these giant AI models. They handle it. So for you, as a developer, you get to just tap into all of that power with a simple API call. No servers, no clusters, none of that headache. It's just pure AI capability right on tap.
And all that simplicity, well, it translates directly into one thing: speed. Developers can now build and test out ideas so fast. You can plug in this powerful AI that scales all by itself, and you can get your product out to your users in just a fraction of the time it used to take. It basically just demolishes all those old barriers to entry.
Okay, that's enough of the high-level theory. Let's get our hands dirty and see how this actually works. We're going to look at a real-world example, a complete generative AI app that can write an entire blog post on pretty much any topic you give it. And the whole thing is built on AWS.
And this blueprint is actually surprisingly simple and elegant. So think of it like this. It all starts with a doorbell. That's the Amazon API gateway. It's just the front door that receives the request. When that doorbell rings, it calls the butler, and that's an AWS Lambda function. Think of it as a little piece of code that just wakes up, does its job, and goes back to sleep. No server needed. Now the butler's job is to pass the blog topic over to the expert brain, which in our case is an AI model running on Bedrock, like Llama 2. And once the brain does its thing and writes the blog post, it gets put away neatly in the filing cabinet, which is just an Amazon S3 bucket.
But now, let's think about what didn't happen. The developer never, not once, had to think about a server. There was no provisioning, no patching, no managing, nothing. That is the magic of serverless AI. You just focus on your code and on plugging these services together, and the infrastructure, well, it just works.
So in the example we just walked through, we used Meta's Llama model as our expert brain. But here's one of the best parts about Bedrock. You're not locked into just one AI. It's not a one-size-fits-all deal. You get a whole roster of different models to pick from, which gives you a ton of flexibility.
I mean, you get access to all the big names in the game. You've got Amazon's own Titan models, you've got the super powerful Claude from Anthropic, of course there's Meta's Llama, and there are even models for creating images, like Stable Diffusion. And having this choice is so important because, let's be real, different models are good at different things.
Now, Amazon's own model, Titan, has a pretty cool advantage. Since it's built by Amazon for Amazon's cloud, it's just deeply connected to everything else in the AWS ecosystem. So if you're a business that's already all in on AWS, this is huge. It means you can add these powerful AI features super smoothly without ever having to step outside of the secure environment you already know and trust.
So, okay, how do you actually pick the right one? Well, it kind of depends on what you're doing. If you're already deep inside the AWS world and you're focused on, say,
enterprise automation, Titan is probably your go-to. If you just need a high-performance workhorse for general text generation, Llama is a fantastic choice. And if you're building something like a chatbot that needs to handle really complex questions and has to be super safe, then Anthropic's Claude is one of the best out there.
All right, so this is obviously super cool for developers, but why should the business side of the house care? Why should they be paying close attention? Well, because this isn't just a small step forward. This is a massive, revolutionary leap in what a business can actually do.
I mean, just look at the difference. It's night and day. The old way, you were literally wrestling with servers, dealing with super complex deployments, and stuck in these long development cycles. The Bedrock way? It's serverless. It's just a simple API call. You can test out new ideas almost instantly. It's a complete shift from, this is so complex to, wow, that was fast.
Let's make this super concrete. Think about e-commerce. You could use this to automatically write amazing, compelling product descriptions for thousands of items in your catalog. Or you could build a search engine that's so smart it actually understands what your customers are looking for, not just the keywords they type. And maybe best of all, you could finally create a customer service chatbot that people don't hate talking to.
Now let's scale that up to a big company. The impact is just as huge. Imagine having an internal assistant that can find any piece of information from any document anywhere in the company instantly. Or think about automating those mind-numbingly tedious weekly reports. Or even using AI to sift through enormous amounts of data to find those golden nuggets, those hidden business opportunities no one else has seen.
So really, the big takeaway is this. We can't talk about AI and the cloud as two separate things anymore. They've basically fused into one. And this combo, it's not just some passing trend. It is the new foundation. It's the ground floor for the next generation of software.
And all of this brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. When the hurdles are this low and the tools are this powerful, the only real limit is your own imagination. The power to create truly intelligent applications is more accessible right now than it has ever been in history. So the question isn't what can be built, the question is, what will you build?